There's more than one way to bury a body, but one funeral trend is becoming increasingly common. Here's why caskets aren't always fully opened. Nobody likes to think about death, but it's an inescapable fact of life. It's also an expensive fact of life. Unless you want your next of kin to bury you in the backyard, you can expect to shell out some Benjamins for a proper funeral with all the bells and whistles.
Gravesite preparation, burial, and a lovely engraved granite headstone.
How much?
$7,600.
What else you got?
As noted by the Federal Trade Commission, the casket is the most expensive expense for a traditional funeral. Depending on the type of casket you choose, the cost can range from $2,000 to as much as $10,000. One of the factors that influences the price of a body box is whether you use a full couch or a half couch casket. A half couch casket has two openings on the lid that are hinged together, and when used for viewings, only the upper half is left open. This allows mourners to focus only on the upper portion of the deceased, particularly the face. On the other hand, a full couch casket only has one lid, which leaves the whole body fully exposed during viewings. That's the only difference between the two. But today, the more commonly used type is the half couch casket. So is there a particular reason why the legs of the deceased remain covered? One of the reasons why people choose a half couch casket over a full couch casket boils down to simple cost and efficiency. When the full body is going to be displayed, the mortician takes more time to ensure that the deceased, from the head to the feet, looks presentable. For a half-body viewing, however, the upper half is given more attention, as noted by After Your Time. There is not much difference in price when it comes to the casket itself, but families can save money on body care and preparation costs for half-body viewings. This does not in any way mean that the lower part of the body is neglected. The legs are still prepared, but more attention is given to the face and torso.
Most of those who service the deceased apply far too much blush. Just a note to always remember, too much color does not make one look more alive.
Most funeral directors suggest a half-body viewing as well, as it puts the focus on the face of the deceased, which is the part of the body that is most commonly associated with a person. The face is what visitors typically like to look at during a wake while saying their final goodbyes, and covering the lower half of the body eliminates distractions. Additionally, according to Titan Casket, funeral directors also find it easier to set up the proper lighting for the viewing when only the upper half is exposed. Although half-couch caskets are more common than full-couch caskets, the decision ultimately rests on the instructions from the deceased or the immediate family members. As reported by In Valhalla, there are some regions on the East Coast where full-couch caskets are more popular than half-couch caskets. Others tend to opt for a full couch casket in closed casket viewings as well, since the lid won't be opened anyway. The choice to have some or all parts of the deceased's body covered may also be influenced by the person's religion. According to the Funeral Help Center, half-couch caskets may have risen in popularity in the 20th century when open casket wakes became common and funeral parlors became more prevalent. Before that, coffins, which have 6 sides and a wider top, were more commonly used.
Get 3 coffins ready.
That changed when the U.S. slowly shied away from the British traditions, and by the 20th century, caskets had replaced coffins. Back then, the family of the deceased was responsible for all the preparations, and wakes were typically held at home. Funeral homes later became popular in order to allow the family time to properly grieve without having to worry about organizing a funeral. As the funeral business grew, more options, such as the types of caskets, became available.